Very recently, I was invited to a place that was discussing politics and beyond, and I said, forget about bashing the politicians. The people who should be bashed are the judges and the judiciary, because it's intensely corrupt, and there are 50 million cases that are pending. There are lakhs of cases that are 35 years old, and I didn't know that the person sitting next to me was a Chief Justice of Delhi High Court. So I profusely apologized to that, and I said, sir, I've already won one contempt of court case, please forgive me. So like that, I hope, in the hope that I might not be invited again, Nupur, I have to say something very frank. And that is, what do we take from this amazing relationship that we have with Japan? What do we learn from it? Previous speakers spoke about the glorious past and our associations with Japan, both ways that have worked in terms of learning from religion, from science, from culture. And I was thinking, yes, of course, we have so much to learn from the past, and it's a tragedy that we Indians don't know our own past, or to talk about the past that we've shared with so many wonderful countries. Yes, we have to learn from past. But something is more important than learning from the past as far as Japan is concerned. And I dare say, Nupur, it is learning from the future and the present Japan. And I think we would be failing in our association and friendship if we as Indians don't learn just two values that I feel Japan represents, Japan of the present represents, and that is courage and honor. And I think going forward, we as an Indian society really need to, if not imbibe those two virtues from Japan, at least seek lessons from it. Let me give you two examples of that. One of the most profound reforms that were ever undertaken in independent India were done 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. They were the farm reforms, the 3 farm laws that were brought in by the Modi government. They would have catapulted us to middle-income economy within 10 years in a sector that was crying out for reforms. These 3 farm reforms, they promised wealth and prosperity to 250 million Indians. 44% of our ready labor force of 515 million is involved in agriculture, in a sector that contributes only 15% to our GDP. So, and these reforms were promised by every opposition party. Yet when the Prime Minister brought these reforms, they went up in arms and the whole nation came to a standstill, highways were blocked, protests happened. And ultimately, after a year, the government buckled and it repealed those farm laws, which was a dark day. Where is the courage? I give you an example, the late Prime Minister Abe. 3 times he resigned from his government because he said, these are the reforms I want to bring and I'm going for re-elections. 3 times. And every time he was re-elected and those reforms were brought in. That's the courage that I think we as a country, I'm not blaming any politician, because when Mr. Modi repealed it, any other politician in this country would have repealed it, possibly done the same. That courage is what we ask for. And finally, a couple of minutes left, I want to talk about the honor, which is so important. I don't go back to what Mishima did, a person and literary figure that I greatly admire. No. I'm talking about the honor of the present. And it may surprise you, but both countries, India and Japan, are currently wrecked by corruption scandals. Maybe 3 years old, 4 years old in our case, months old in the case of Japan. 10 Japanese ministers have already been asked to step down. There might be more indictments. The current Prime Minister of Japan has stepped down from his portion, his part of his party. He has apologized 3 times publicly to the Japanese people for what has happened. And it's all to do with party funding. It's all to do with the Japanese institutions have severely indicted sitting ministers of having indulged in corruption. The same thing happened when the Delhi High Court not just indicted but convicted the present government of having illegally taken donations through violating the FCRA laws. And what did our government do? Our government amended the FCRA Act going back to the era of emergency. making the indictment conviction of the High Court toothless. Nothing could be done then. No minister, no party could be convicted with a prison sentence. Now, something like this would have happened in any other civilized democratic country. The opposition would have come onto the streets demanding the resignation of the Prime Minister, saying, you know, lock this parliament. How can this country run? It's been convicted by a High Court. But our opposition did nothing of the sort. And a very dear brother, sympathizer of the opposition is sitting right next to me when I say this. Something like this should have brought this government down to its knees. Nothing. Opposition did nothing. Why? Because the opposition also was convicted of the same scandal, of the same crime. The opposition helped this present party, governing party of Modi, to amend the FCRA law. And when we talk about the fact that the corruption scandal that is wrecking right now, Supreme Court has said that electoral bonds through which the parties gain funding can no longer be anonymous. The Congress, the opposition party, is saying, yes, look, the BJP has done wrong. This was the corruption that BJP has indulged in, without disclosing the fact that 10% of its own electoral funding has come from anonymous electoral bonds. It's like saying... So I'm absolutely making sure that I will never be invited again by my dear Nupur or by anyone in the parliament. But these are the two things, if we don't learn from the contemporary Japan, we can keep on learning from the Japan of the past, but I think these are the issues that are very important to us, for us to change for the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandji. Thank you. No, definitely, you know, I think people really, they have enjoyed, because